Welcome to YouTube channel Knowledge Base, connecting world with innovative experts. Startups. Today, startups is a buzzword both in media as well as in social media. How many startups have really scaled up in recent past? It's a big question mark. To talk more on this, today we have Babu Gunaseelan, who comes with 20 plus years of industry experience. Currently based out in Singapore, is the founder CEO of Cybervault Innovations and Technologies. He has done his graduation in computer science and post-graduation in network and project management. Over to you, Mr. Babu Gunaseelan. Can you talk about your success story, your organization's success story?
Sure. Good morning, Suresh, and a very good morning to the audience of Knowledge Base YouTube channel. So to introduce myself, I'm Babu Gunaseelan, based out of Singapore, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cybervault Innovations and Technologies, Singapore-based startup. So basically, we were co-founded in actually in 2018, early 2018, prior to which I was working in big multinational companies for over 20 over years. So I've been worked in all the top corporates in Singapore. So after working for almost 20 years, I realized that so it is something important to pursue your passion, your life passion. So startup dream is not something it came I thought of doing overnight actually. So it's almost something that I have aspired to do for many years. But somehow there has been multiple attempts that that really didn't work or was not very successful. But fortunately for me, this time Cybervault Innovations and Technologies is a 5 years old company with operations in Singapore, Coimbatore, and Noida in India. So basically, people say failures are the stepping stones for success. It is actually like it is probably it is something that something I realized with my own experience. So in multiple attempts, whenever my learning curves and all the mistakes that I did in the past startups, I realized what needs to be done and what not needs to be done. And then I realized that it is very important to build a company in a very organic way, meaning that you grow from basically like a 5-member team to a 10-member team, 10-member team to a 15-member team, 15-member to 40, and also in terms of the customers revenue. So you cannot build something like a 10-member team into a 1,000-member team like something in over 3 or 4 months. It is possible, like there are a lot of I mean like buzz around the startup world, as you said, like with a lot of VCs investing millions and billions of dollars into startup. It is also possible to grow in an inorganic way, as most of the startups are growing from to the unicorn status. But how successful are they? Like what are the compromises they are making in terms of their vision and mission statements from what they have initially perceived and what they are actually are, is something that startup founders have to ask themselves. So basically, right, so if you go and talk to every founder, right, or a product company, so they will say you identify the basic thing when building a startup is that, like, you identify a problem statement. So identifying a problem statement or a problem that you are trying to solve is the fundamental basis for actually building a startup. Actually, like so basically if you're trying to do a startup just for the intention of making money, the chances of you failing are very high. But if you are doing a startup to really solve a social problem or a technical problem or something that you think will change the world and truly work towards it, then so probably you are going to be very successful in your startup. So basically, that's how we also actually started up. When we started up, so we identified a problem statement and we decided to build a solution around that problem. And then like if you study do a market research, probably there are other products in the market trying to solve the same problem. So what what exactly could be your I mean like a differentiating factor from other products available in the market? So that's how you have to design your product. So actually like so the first thing when you build a product and go to a customer, so the first question is going to ask is that like why do I need to buy your product? So there is already a product that is available in the market, or I'm already using a product that is I'm using it for many years. So these are some of the initial roadblocks of things that you will face from the customer. So it is very important when you're trying to build a product. It is very important that you understand that you are trying to specialize, or you build a unique selling point around your product. Once you know that, you have to once you have done with that, then basically the next step will be to find basically a key customer who can use your product and then give you some very useful feedbacks. So that is a very the next probably the next milestone you will be looking towards. Then basically like once you get that customer, then work closely with that customer, and then I mean like work around the customer and try to see the products that you have built is trying to really solve the problem that you thought is solving, and then basically the customer is also happy about using the product. Once that is done, then basically then your next step will be to probably get feedback from the customers, do a case study with the customer, and then basically like approach similar customers in the market who are having similar problems, or basically like talk to customers or through reference, and then basically you try to scale your products. So these are a few things that needs to be done very organically, in a very structured manner, in a professional manner, with a lot of patience, and then talk to customers, understand their pain points. If they are actually giving you feedbacks, see if those feedbacks are realistic. If you are able to do it, try to do those changes. If you're not able to do those, add it to your product backlogs, or tell them that you'll be able to give them at a specific point of time, or add it to their next roadmap. And then basically yeah, and then you just stick to that roadmap. So basically these are the few things, right? As a startup, you try to actually like build a product and then grow your customer and your revenue base organically. And at a point, if you are doing this in a very I mean like consistent manner, so surely your business is going to be successful. And from our experience, like I mean like this is what we have done as a very systematic approach for all our customers. And we were lucky enough to win the Singapore Fast Moving Companies Award for 2022 couple of days back. So we are actually very excited about this award. And then basically like it really instills the confidence that we are in the right track. And then whatever we have done with our partners and customers actually have made us what we are today. And then we are more excited to continue this journey, and then fulfill a lot of other customers aspirations and their business visions together.
In terms of how important is to have a second level leadership in a startup, and what are the challenges faced in building a second level leadership in a startup?
The second, so I mean, when we talk about leadership, it is not a very it's not very generic. It is very subjective to each organization. Although a delegation is one of the thing many startups follow, basically, but in our organization, we follow the mantra of single leadership. So there's a single leader like who decides how the company should progress, and then like the rest of the team aligns with that business goal, and then like everybody trusts the leadership, and then they move forward. I'm not against the second leadership approach, but this is what we consciously decided to do as an organization, that in order to be more scalable and then to have a unified business approach to our customers, that we will follow a single leadership approach, where there will be a single person who will set the business vision and the mission statement, and the organization will follow that. And then so far it has worked good for us. So at some point, we also want to build the second level leadership who will take the company as it grows. But basically, for us, a single level leadership is what we consciously set as an operating principle so far.
Yes, increase in headcount is an yardstick to check on the company scaling up.
Um, uh, Increase in headcount is not necessarily the only factor to really measure the progress of the company. At this point, if you ask me, like a global recession has kicked in, even big companies like Microsoft or Meta or like Google are freezing the headcount. So it doesn't mean that, so it is basically like forecasting that, okay, something, the market dynamics are going to change. So we have to prepare for that. So it only means that strategically the organization is preparing itself for something that is forthcoming in future. Okay, so the revenue is going to shrink or the market dynamics are going to change. So let's change the strategy. So basically, like the hiring process is something like it's not something like it's always constant over the year. So maybe towards the year end they might freeze the headcounts, and towards the when the business picks up, then they will increase the headcounts. Consciously, it doesn't mean that like if the headcount is not growing, the company is doing bad. But and also at the same time, if their headcount is increasing, then it is a positive sign that the startup is doing well, or a bigger organization is doing well, or they are expecting a lot of project opportunities. It is always a good sign. But the other way around is also not true. So they are not hiring, it doesn't mean they are not growing. Probably they are at a stable point where they are preparing to scale the business after a few months. So yeah, that is my take on the headcount growth.
So what are the challenges does a startup face apart from funding?
Basically, the startups, most of the problems really lies around the dollar part. So funding is one thing. So today, many organizations have become a bootstrapped organizations. Basically, right, the fundamental difference between enterprises and startups, right? So because I have worked in both these ecosystems, I feel that in the enterprise world, like they have all the dollars at their disposal. But like when it comes to the executions or following a roadmap, there's always a lot of kind of approvals or those kind of approval process, or the corporate bureaucracies comes into picture, that you have to secure your approvals. You should show a strong business case for all those investment. So if you're willing to spend, if you're going to spend $10, you have to probably show $1,000 returns for the $10 spent. So basically, like that's how the bigger corporations work. So you have all the dollars and the resources at your disposal, but your hands and legs are tied from moving forward. But on the other hand, startups have all the freedom to do what they want to do, but they may not have the dollars or the resources to really back them up. But the story is different when they are funded by a VC, but they have their own set of problems. But everything revolves around this dollar values for startups fundamentally. So they may not get the right resources, and so at this point of time, getting a right talent has always been a problem. Like even if we find the right talent, whether that candidate will accept the offer is another challenge. If the candidate accept the offer, whether he will turn up for the job on that specific day is now a challenge. So now the candidate ghosting is becoming a lot of problems, and offer shopping is also becoming a more common problem in today's world. So these are the common problems that is currently looming the startup ecosystem. And in the last 2 years, bigger problem or the problem that we faced is that like a lot of decisions for confirmations from customers were actually delayed because of the COVID situation. Because we were actually building a SaaS-based products for construction companies, and we also had a claims and reimbursement platform for SME market. Although we were talking about for India alone, there are almost 300 million SMEs in the market. Travels were not really happening, meaning that business travels were not happening, business movements were not there, which means that there are so less of movement and then expenses happening, which means that the customers were not willing to buy our software, or they were selling that they will try it or they will convert it into a pay model after that time. So basically, like a lot of the business decisions or the so the SaaS based companies, like they have to kind of have a waiting game in order to. This is typically what we faced, that so we have to diversify our operational strategy and then like have alternate revenue stream to keep us moving. So these are the few things that every company faces, like, and typically not only the cash problem that you faced, but you mentioned like also the resource problem, bringing in the right talents, retaining them for a longer time, and making them understand your vision, and then like by bringing them aligned with your team synergies. And also once also that is done, like basically like I mean like bringing into the customer ecosystem to trust your product, and then like at the right time, so and then scaling the SaaS subscription to the next level is been a daunting challenge in the last 2 years. We sincerely hope the situation will change in the upcoming months, because like the market is opening up, and then we see that the customer mindset will change.
Does your company specialize in SaaS products? And is there
Yes,
any specific reason to go in for a SaaS product?
so basically, I come with experience from working in a lot of enterprise applications in data centers. So I have previously worked with the Singtel, which is one of the biggest telecom company in Singapore. So I come from with a lot of background in building enterprise-based applications that runs in data center. But when I founded Cybervault Innovations, like we founded that a lot of the companies have moved from a database, a data center based model into a cloud-based solution really to cut costs. So they were moving from a capex-based model into an opex-based model, so that they can actually have control over their expenses. So when that kind of a paradigm shift happened, that we decided like we wanted to become a 360-degree cloud solution provider. So that's why like our operations were more shifted to provide customers, because most of our customers in Singapore or mostly in the insurtech sector. So we decided we will focus more on the cloud-based solutions, not only on cloud-based app development, but also cloud-based infrastructure services, and also cloud-based turnkey projects. So, or our key offerings. So that's why like we were able to help a lot of customers in building a lot of SaaS applications in 3 months, 4 months time. So we were able to do it successfully for them. So we decided, okay, when we can do this for customer A, we can do this for ourselves. So that's when we decided we want to build our own SaaS product-based capability to build to strengthen our position in the market, so that like we become from a service-based company to a product-based company, and we have our own product offerings for our customers. So that is how we transitioned from a service-based organization into a SaaS-based company, and then we now totally focused into a 360 cloud operating company, offering from cloud-based software development to infrastructure services, migration services also, and turnkey projects that can be completely built over a cloud infrastructure.
You operate both in Singapore as well as in India. So what difference you see from the overall perspective, maybe from a customer response or talent attraction or a government support? What difference you see in both these countries?
Okay, in terms of the talent attraction, because like when you're comparing Singapore and India, like Singapore is a small country with a 5 million population, and while considering India against a massive $6 billion population, sorry, 6 billion population. So when we are comparing this markets, like and probably like 80% of the talent pools in Singapore is basically coming from other countries, including India. So the other actually talent markets are like Vietnam, Philippines, or Burma. So all these are the other talent pools from which Singapore is acquiring talent to fulfill its local IT requirements. So basically, when we are looking at hiring talents, I would say that India is basically probably a cost-effective market to look at talent pools, and then basically it is also been easier for us to build a scalable development team in India rather than in Singapore because of the cost factors. Because like holding a talent pool in Singapore is comparatively because of the dollar values, it has been a big challenge for our startups. So that's why we decided to have an offshore market. But in terms of the government support for startups, like so in the COVID period, Singapore government has done a lot of support for the startups in terms of the SME ecosystem, in terms of the compensation and other payouts. And also, I also feel that the Indian government and also the state governments are also doing a lot of to support the Indian startup ecosystem. Lot of cohorts has been formed and incubation funding has been released on an annual basis that startup can actually like leverage on all those fundings. So we are also trying to explore and trying to see if we are able to tap into those fundings, incubation fundings from the Indian government. But I think like the Indian ecosystem is also now very supportive of the startups. But Singapore has been doing it for many years before already. So it has actually been very conducive for us to run our business in tandem, both in Singapore and India, from a business perspective. But from a talent perspective, we feel that the Indian market is more lucrative and it is a scalable proposition for us. And I think from many other startups at this point in time.
See, we would have come across many people starting up an organization immediately after graduation. What would be your advice? Gain domain experience, technology experience, then start up, or give it a try immediately after college as and when you feel better?
That's a good question. Basically, I think there is no right answer for this question. So whether you go into the corporate world and then try 2 years of your life into the corporate world and come back do something, which is what I did, because like I went into the corporate world. I mean, I worked there for 2 years and then I quit after that, and then like I came to Singapore for my higher studies. But it's not something but I pre-planned it. So this is what I wanted to do. But on the other hand, if you wanted to perceive something, it is also very time sensitive. Startups are a very time sensitive thing. So if you have a business idea and then you want to build it, some ideas, I mean, like could be like in the 2 years of span of time, somebody could have already visualized that, and then they would have started up, and then they have progressed much farther than you before you could actually do that. So some startups, if you think if it is a good idea, it is better to start it today rather than 2 years, because like your idea could have become obsolete 2 years later, because your idea is something you have to constantly polish, improvise. Otherwise, your idea is actually does not fly in the market. So, I mean, when it comes to startups, your ideologies and your startups or your products has to be constantly being polished and then like improvised to be relevant to the market. That is one of the problem like Motorola faced, like when they were actually trying to build their mobile phones, which they took 10 years. And then to build one of their successful mobile phones, but when they actually built it, they become irrelevant to the market. And then basically like Nokia and other players took over, BlackBerry took over, and BlackBerry was resisting for change, that they will never be beaten up. And then Apple came into the picture, and you know what happened. So basically, right. So when you are so something like you need to be very receptive to the market expectations. So I would say if you feel you have the right team, and you think your idea is support successful, and you have a good backing of your team and your college, because now a lot of startups are actually incubated within the university itself. A lot of university professors are also being mentors actually, like for those startups. So if you think that you are very confident about your idea and you have a very good mentorship team, so you should actually perceive it.
Generally, people start up an organization with the exit plan in mind. Is it fair, Or what is the time frame for an exit plan?
Actually, if you ask me, right, many companies start up with the startups with an exit plan. In US, they typically build startups to exit. So unlike companies in India or unlike us, like who want to build a brand or leave a legacy for 2 to 3 generations. We want to build a brand iconic, something to like a Tata or Infosys or Wipro. So that will stand the test of time. So they don't have an exit because they're already too big to exit. On the other hand, so having an exit plan is nothing wrong, because like even if when someone is actually like trying to exit into your, I mean like invest into your business, like there's always an exit strategy part of the slide, meaning like that you always give them an option to exit, because like they've invested $1 million in your company.
What will
You
be the
will give
ideal
them
time
a,
frame for that?
it depends. It depends. Like what is the appetite of the investor or the company. Typically, I would say to my investors, you have to wait for at least 2 to 3 years for your investment to really come to really to see this kind of returns. So some startups probably when they are bringing in investors at the year 5 or year 6, right? So they're probably at the scaling point. But say like when the investors are coming at an early stage, when at year 2 or year 3, it might take 4 years or 5 years for them to see the amount of exit returns they are planning. So basically, it typically takes 3 to 5 years, and because for them to exit. And then like once they are exiting, basically like because of acquisitions or companies going public, then typically the waiting, the time they are waited is justified, because they will probably return with 10 times their investment or 20 times their investment, which is good enough for them to go and invest in another startup, and then they will follow the same process. So typically between waiting for 3 to 5 years should be good. And then this is something can be will be different between many different startups. And then as I said, so there's nothing wrong in building a company with an exit plan, which is absolutely normal, because like you do not want to probably like have different technologies. So a lot of companies actually do this as a repetitive cycle. They build something, exit, and then go into the next idea, and then they build something, exit. So there's nothing wrong in that, in my opinion.
What would be your advice to people who wants to start up an organization, particularly in information technology?
As I previously said that, right? Don't start up just to make money. Basically build something or ideate something to that will really solve a problem. So identify the problem statement, form the right team. So basically like once you have the right team, right, and then like you found the right people like who are able to support you in your journey, then probably the journey is half there actually. So once you have the your right team, and then basically you know what to do, then work with the team to build a prototype, and then like find some customers whom actually can like use your products, and then actually able to give you useful feedbacks, and most importantly probably identify a good mentor for your team. So if you are probably doing a startup for the first time, it is as important to have a good mentor just like having a good team. So mentor will probably have a lot more experience than you, so he would have gone through a lot of other teams who are in a similar situation like you, and then his information and his experience will be very valuable for your team in terms of avoiding some costly mistakes, which will allow you to save a lot of time, and then focusing on things that are more important to scale the business. So if you are willing to trying to take the startup plunge, basically identify what you want to do, build the right team, have a good mentor, and most importantly, be patient. So be patient and be perseverant of your idea, and then trust that your business idea will succeed. And then once if you feel like all these things are there as part of your ecosystem, go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Babu Gunaseelan, for joining us
Thank
on a
you.
weekend despite your busy schedule. I'm sure people would have benefited by your experience and insights. Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
Suresh. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you.